Colin King.
The second reading of the Airport's Cost Recovery for Processing of International Travellers Bill. The Select Committee worked very collegially on this. It was quite interesting. The comment has been made that we did not receive a large number of submissions. I think there was 8. We heard 3. It was quite interesting that when we did hear as a Select Committee those 3, it was by one part of it was by teleconference, and there was quite a number of the airports actually meeting together at that very same time, and they gave us the value of their knowledge. We must consider that we are a nation surrounded by water, and that tourism is vitally important to this nation's economy, and on that basis it's important that we get the balance right between biodiversity, preserving our natural state, and encouraging visitors to come to this country. And we believe that this bill is very sensible in that aspect, because it will encourage airports that are designing a business case as to whether to engage with a contractor to bring international tourists to their airport. They will have to factor in the cost of providing those biosecurity and custom services. At the moment we have 7 international airports, and we didn't want to. Part of the discussion we had in the Select Committee was we did not want to stymie tourism, and that was a point that was brought out, and we debated that at length. It was quite interesting that while we were debating that, Mr. Speaker, we found out that Australia had 8 international airports. So we have to get the balance right. There has been airports that have started off services with good intent. I believe it was the Hamilton Airport had an international service there for some time, as did Palmerston North. Those have discontinued. It's discontinued mainly because they've lost their contractor to provide international services. It's not because the airport itself has backed away. The 7 airports that we do have that have international services, Mr. Speaker, are Dunedin, we have Rotorua, Christchurch, Auckland, Queenstown and Wellington, and Tim Shadbolt, Mayor of Invercargill, is still waiting for aspirational down in Invercargill. So we just wait and see. So really, the point of this bill is that it's just making it mindful to those people that want to have international services at their airport that they will have to provide for the cost, the fair and reasonable costs of providing those services. And when you stop and think about it, Mr. Speaker, it's quite sensible, because relocating families today into a particular area, training up that staff is very important, because it means, for one, you've got to take somebody and set up a business unit. You can't just have half a staff number. It's got to be fully staffed, and the number that are coming in may not be adequate to do that job, so there is a lot of to be considered. So effectively, the bill itself, we gave a lot of considerations to Clause 9, which effectively talks about the distinction between what is a established service and a re-established service, because as a committee we were particularly conscious there could be a bit of gouging going on here, that we didn't want to see the system open to a rort. We wanted to see some very clear constraints and definitions, so that if it ever did become an issue, those that were adjudicating on it would have some clear guidance, and Clause 9 adds that to the bill. And then, of course, the regulations out of Clause 11 also establishes the aspects around the grace period, and that was where, in good intent, an airport or a provider set up a deal and was having international travellers arrive, and for no fault of their own, that arrangement failed. They would be given 6 months to find another contractor to be able to provide that international service, and that was given fair consideration by the Select Committee, and it was good to see that the Select Committee acted as a whole and supported that. Where we see on Regulation 11B prescribed, it says there under regulation, will be prescribing a cross-recovery period shorter than 3 years. And when you look at the note coming back from the Select Committee, where in actual fact in that particular area, cost recovery period, we designated, Mr Speaker, that should be 2 years. So we would be looking at, when this bill progresses through the committee stage, through the third reading, and then goes for the royal assent, that it comes back, the regulations come back with that 2-year period by which time, if a international service can carry on, that in actual fact that then goes back to the taxpayer funded biosecurity and customs services. So, Mr Speaker, this bill in itself, it actually progresses things forward considerably, because this has been a bit of a moot point up until this stage. Previous parliaments have grappled with this particular area and have not been able to come to a resolution. So it is heartening to see that there is accord across the House, that there is agreement that where somebody endeavours to set up an international service at one of our airports, that for the first 2 years they shall carry that cost, they shall factor in that cost into their business case, and in the event of it falling over, there will be a 6 months grace period so that they can reinstall that international service. And that's appropriate because we do take biosecurity and customs services incredibly seriously, but we still want to design a service here that will not deter tourists coming to New Zealand, because it is one of our main planks of the economy. And of course, with the Rugby World Cup coming in September and October of this year, we want to have things in a way that presents New Zealand in the most attractive light. So it was a pleasure to consider this bill. It wasn't controversial. However, there were a range of views from, as was brought out, with those that had previously had the international services and had them stopped. But I think on balance we can be very confident in the House here that the work has been put into this bill and that it will be servicing the needs of the airports adequately, along with the economy of this country. So it gives me pleasure to commend this bill to the House, Mr Speaker.
Dr Asher-Saldry.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's a privilege to speak